We got folks waiting on us. What's up, everybody? So, Exodus 17. I guess everybody's ready to just read, right? And all the congregation of the sons of Israel journeyed by stages from the wilderness of Sin, according to the command of the Lord, and camped at Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. And therefore the people quarreled with Moses. They're fighting with each other again. And said, "Give us water that we may drink." And Moses said to him, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord?" But the people thirsted there for water, and they grumbled against Moses and said, "Why now have you brought us up from Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, "What shall I do with this people? A little more, and they will stone me." And the Lord said to Moses, "Pass before the people, and take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand your staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. And behold, I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water shall run forth from it." I think is what it says. Water will come out of it, and the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he named the place Massah and Meribah, because of the quarrel of the sons of Israel, because they tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" So there's actually a rock over yonder that's got a big old crack down it. And it looks like it was a whole bunch of water run down from it too. And it's up on a hill, and it's right over here in this area. And I could probably show you some pictures of it on the internet. But so they were all upset and everything because they was wandering around in the desert, and they didn't have faith. And so I mean Moses had to go through all this stuff, and I think God probably knew that the rest of them wouldn't believe what they was fixing to see, the miracle, if Moses didn't take the elders with him before he struck the rock and broke it to get the water out of it. Know what I'm saying? So let's keep going. Then Amalek came and fought against Israel at Rephidim. And so Moses said to Joshua, "Choose men for us and go out, fight against Amalek. And tomorrow I will station myself at the top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand." And Joshua did as Moses told him, and fought against Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And so it came about, when Moses held his hand up, somebody might need to hold their hand up. I don't know what's happening. It came about, when Moses held his hand up, Israel prevailed, and when he let his hand down, Amalek prevailed. And Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it, and Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and one on the other, and thus his hands were steady until the sun set. So Joshua overwhelmed Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And the Lord said to Moses, "Write this in a book as a memorial, to recite it to Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven." And Moses built an altar and named it, "The Lord is my banner." And he said, "The Lord has sworn, and the Lord will have war against Amalek from generation to generation." And there's some history there that we really haven't went over, where Amalek and Amalek's armies come from. But I always thought that it was kind of interesting that all these dudes come up out of Egypt, and they had swords, and ways to wage battle and everything with them. All the Israelites did, even though they were slaves when they left Egypt. And I don't know if that's because of the stuff they took with them from the Egyptians after Passover, or if they were there with it. They may have just been there with it. They may have been warriors while they were there, even though they were slaves, you know. What you writing down? Bookmarker. Okay. Now Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard that all that God had done and for Moses and for Israel, his people, and how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Moses' wife Zipporah after he had sent her away, and her 2 sons, of whom one was named Gershom, for he said, I have been a sojourner in a foreign land. And the other was named Eliezer, and he said, the God of my father was my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. And then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, he came with his sons and his wife to Moses in the wilderness, where he was camped at the Mount of God. Wonder where the Mount of God is. Or if that's the same place or not. And he sent word to Moses, I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons with her. And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and he bowed down and kissed him. And they asked each other of their welfare and went into the tent. And Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, all the hardship that had befallen them on the journey, and how the Lord had delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced over all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel in delivering them from the hand of the Egyptians. So Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord who delivered you from the hand of the Egyptians and from the hand of Pharaoh, and who delivered people from the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all the gods. I hope you're following along. Whenever you see gods right there, that's little gods. That's like pagan gods. That's like folks that they've been worshiping and stuff that they've been doing and idolatizing and all that kind of stuff. Huh?
Idol gods.
Yes, like idol gods. Very good. Indeed, he was proven when they dealt proudly against the people. And then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God, and Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat a meal with Moses' father-in-law before God. And it came about the next day that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood about Moses from the morning until the evening. And now when Moses' father-in-law saw that all that he was doing for the people, he said, What is this thing that you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit as judge to all the people stand about you from morning until evening? And Moses said to his father-in-law, Because the people come to me to inquire of God. And when they have a dispute, it comes to me, and I judge between a man and his neighbor and make known the statutes of God and his laws. So, what do y'all think about that? Interesting. It's interesting, internet. So Moses was one of the first mediators. Between God and man. Thank you. I'll keep that. Moses was one of the first mediators. He was also one of the first men of judgment, I guess you could call him. I mean, he was one of the first people that was the go-between between God and man.
He was serving as a priest and a judge.
Exactly. And he was also one of the first men after, well, he wasn't one of the first men to stand in the presence of God. You know, Adam was the very first one, but he was one of the first after the tribulation of the Israelites to stand in the presence of God. It's interesting that it seems a lot of times that Moses didn't want to do what he was doing, but he kept being told to do it, so he just kept on doing it. You know what I mean? Anyway, you know, and it's when these last few verses right here was, or well, especially 16. When they have a dispute, it comes to me, and I judge between a man and his neighbor, and make known the statutes of God and his laws. Capital H, laws. So he's using God's laws as ways of judgment and ways to make these disputes fixed between me and you, or me and the dude across the road, or whatever. And Moses' father-in-law said to him, the thing that you are doing is not good. You will surely wear out both yourself and these people who are with you, for the task is too heavy for you. You cannot do it alone. Now listen to me. I shall give you counsel, and God be with you. You be the people's representative before God, and you bring the disputes to God, and then teach them the statutes and the laws, and make known to them the way in which they are to walk, and the work that they are to do. And furthermore, you shall select out of all the people able men who fear God, men of truth, those who hate dishonest gain, and you shall place these over them as leaders of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, of tens. And you shall let them judge the people at all times. And let it be that every major dispute that they will bring to you, but every minor dispute they with themselves will judge. So it will be easier for you, and they will bear the burden with you. So what Jethro was trying to tell him is like, hey man, you're gonna have to tell these dudes over here, pick a leader, and he's gonna be doing what you're doing for that group of folks. And he's gonna have to pick leaders to do with smaller groups of folks and stuff like that. And that way Moses ain't just standing up there doing it all by himself for all these people. Does that make any sense? Like instead of
him doing everything, he had a set of like 12 people, I think.
I turned into that.
So he was going to select people he trusted underneath him to help divide up those responsibilities. Instead of just him, there's going to be a bunch of people there. Yeah. And he would still be there. So it's here, people here, and that's all it filters up.
Yeah. So, you know, that's what he's talking about, thousands and then hundreds and fifties and tens. That's what he's trying to do, is separating stuff up into groups. You know, you got a group of 10 dudes, and you got another group of 10 dudes, another group of 10 dudes, another group of 10 dudes, and they do stuff amongst themselves. And if the leaders of those 10s have trouble, then they go to the bigger dudes, and then it trickles up from there. It's just a hierarchy type thing. If you do this thing God so commands you, then you'll be able to endure, and all these people also will go to their place in peace. And so Moses listened to his father-in-law and did all that he had said. And Moses chose able men out of all of Israel, and made them heads over the people, leaders of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens. And they judged the people at all times. And the difficult dispute they would bring to Moses, but every minor dispute they themselves would judge. And Moses bade his father-in-law farewell, and he went his way into his own land. And this is 19. This is a pretty good one. In the 3rd month after the sons of Israel had gone out of the land of Egypt, on it every day they came in the wilderness of Sinai. And when they set out from Rephidim, they came to the wilderness of Sinai, and they camped in the wilderness, and there Israel camped in front of the mountain. And Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him from the mountain, saying, Thus you shall say to the house of Jacob, and tell the sons of Israel. You know, and y'all know, I mean, Jacob and Israel's one and the same for the most part. And you yourselves have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. And there's something that's really not for y'all, maybe not for some folks on the internet, but that verse right there is replicated or quoted in Revelation. And now then, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be my own possession among all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the sons of Israel. So Moses came and called the elders of the people and set before them all these words which the Lord had commanded to him. And all the people answered together and said, All the Lord has spoken, we will do. And Moses brought back the words of the people to the Lord. And the Lord said to Moses, Behold, I shall come to you in a thick cloud. And this is important, because you'll see this a couple more times in the Bible. You'll see the transgression on the Mount of Jesus, and a couple other places also. So it's a worthy note to make. In order that the people may hear what I speak with you, and may also believe in you forever. And then Moses told the words of the people to the Lord. And the Lord said to Moses, Go to the people and consecrate them today, and tomorrow let them wash their garments, and let them be ready for the 3rd day. For on the 3rd day the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. There's a little bit of parallelism going on right there, talking about the 3rd day, and go to the people and consecrate them, and tomorrow let them wash their garments. That's a typology leading up to Jesus.
Do you know what consecrate is? To set apart.
Yeah. Yeah. Let them be ready on the 3rd day, for the 3rd day the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. And you shall set bounds for the people all around, saying, Beware that you do not go up on the mountain or touch the border of it. Or whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. No hand shall touch him, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through. Whether beast or man, he shall not live. When the ram's horn sounds a long blast, that's a shofar, they shall come up to the mountain. So Moses went down from the mountain to the people and consecrated the people, and they washed their garments. And that call of the shofar is also goes all the way back to Revelation. And he said to the people, Be ready for the 3rd day, do not go near a woman. And it came about on the 3rd day, when it was morning, that there was thunder and lightning flashes and a thick cloud upon the mountain, and a very loud trumpet sound, so that all the people who were in the camp trembled. And Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. And this is where Moses couldn't get nobody else to come up there with him. Now Mount Sinai was all in smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked violently. And when the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder, and Moses spoke, and God answered him with thunder. And the Lord came down on Mount Sinai on the top of the mountain, and the The Lord called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. And the Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Go down and warn the people, lest they break through to the Lord to gaze, and many of them perish. And also let the priests who come near to the Lord consecrate themselves, lest the Lord break out against them." And Moses said to the Lord, "These people cannot come up to the Mount Sinai, for thou didst warn us, saying, Set bounds about the mountain and consecrate it, set it apart, make it holy," is the same thing. And then the Lord said to him, "Go down and come up again, you and Aaron with you, but do not let the priests and the people break through to come up to the Lord, lest he break forth upon them." So Moses went down to the people, and he told them. So these folks, y'all have both heard the term the fear of God, hadn't you? That's pretty much what's happening. These folks are scared. They're scared because if they get too close to this mountain that God's coming down on to talk to everybody, they all gonna die. That's like we all gonna die Wednesday. So anyway, this last one, we'll read this last one, and I will let y'all go because I think y'all are getting bored with it. But this is the 10 Commandments, because this is all what's going to happen right here. And if you read along, Grace. And God spoke all these words, saying, "I'm the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me," idol gods, remember? "You shall not make for yourself an idol or any likeness of what is in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the water or under the earth. You shall not worship them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, and on the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing loving kindness," which could also be translated as mercy, "to thousands to those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not make the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not leave him unpunished who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But on the seventh day is the Sabbath of your Lord your God, and in it you shall not do any work, you nor your son nor your daughter nor your male nor your female servant nor your cattle nor your sojourner who stays with you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and he rested on the seventh day. And therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be prolonged in the land which the Lord your God gives you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, and you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, or his female servant, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor." And all the people perceived the thunder and the lightning flashes, and the sound of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, and they trembled, and they stood at a distance. And when they said to Moses, "Speak to us yourself, and we will listen, but let not God speak to us, lest we die." You go talk to that fellow. We ain't going up there. And Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid, for God has come in order to test you, in order that the fear of him may remain with you, so that you may not sin." So the people stood at a distance while Moses approached the thick cloud where God was. And the Lord said to Moses, "Thus you shall say to the sons of Israel, you yourselves have seen that I have spoken to you from heaven. You shall not make other gods besides me, gods of silver or gods of gold, and you shall not make for yourselves. You shall make an altar of earth for me, and you shall sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and your peace offerings and your sheep and your oxen, and every place where I cause my name to be remembered, I will come to you and bless you. And if you make an altar of stone for me, you shall not build it of cut stones, For if you wield your tool on it, you will profane it. And you shall not go up by the steps to my altar, that your nakedness may not be exposed on it.
Can't get naked, anyway.
Well, it's a different kind of nakedness. it's a whole different kind of nakedness. And I think it's right after this that I know y'all are getting tired. I think it's right after this. Moses comes back down off the mountain, and Aaron's sitting down there, and they done built a fire and they done hammered a bunch of gold and stuff like that into a calf, and they were all worshiping this calf because they didn't know if he was going to come back down off that mountain or not.
Do y'all understand all the commandments, what they mean? Every single one of them? Do you know what thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor?
You
Like if they like I don't know how to explain it.
Try.
But it,
you're talking to the internet, you know that.
These are important to know.
You've been sitting over there doodling while we've been reading stuff.
and listening.
I'm just saying. Aaron, go ahead, Mom.
No is an appropriate answer. We need to know if y'all understand it or not.
I understand it, but I don't know how.
What is it? It's an easy one.
Like if there is something, don't like a false witness. Like don't lie about something that they may or may have not done.
Well, I mean, lying is part of it, but there's a difference between regular lies and saying lies about somebody that is going to get them judged. Sit up. Sit up. That's right there.
What about the others? Do y'all understand this? The Sabbath? Yes or no?
No.
What is it? There's only I thought it would help. I like people watching. Well, I thought it would. What is do you remember back in the beginning of Genesis? Do you remember what God did on the seventh day? Okay. Do you remember right here? Read the book. Follow along with me. Go to verse 8. Read verse 8. Yes, ma'am.
Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy.
Keep reading.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all your work.
6 days you shall labor and do all your work. What's verse 10?
The 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God, and in it thou shalt not do any work. Nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, or stranger that is within thy gates.
Keep going.
For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is, that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and he loved it.
So because the Lord made everything in 6 days, and the seventh day he rested. That is what the Sabbath means, is that that's why he wants everybody else. He wants all of his people to rest on that day also. So, I mean, if you're going to follow the 10 Commandments, going by that rule from Friday at sundown until Saturday at sundown, that is supposed to be dedicated to the Lord. You're not supposed to cook on it. You're not supposed to do any kind of labor on it. That's what he's talking about. That is that commandment. That's the 4th commandment, I think.
What about using the Lord's name in vain?
Don't say like um,
That was one of them. It's not good.
I actually have a different take on that than you do.
Well, what's your take?
Well, you're not supposed to say stuff like that. As far as cursing and different things like that, that's what everybody kind of thinks whenever they say don't take his name in vain. But actually, the way that I understand it or reading about it, of course, that's not good. We shouldn't do that either. But taking his name in vain means doing things and saying that you're doing things in his name when you're not doing them according to what he wants.
I agree with that. When you say, I swear to God, I'm going to do this. And
Well,
it's a dramatic statement that is not applicable to what you're fixing to do.
Well, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is like, I mean, if you go do something like, say you're a false preacher, and you're just doing like, if you're preaching on TV and you're just asking for money and you're just up there doing stuff and you're saying that you're doing it in the name of the Lord, anything like that, that's what's gonna.
I agree with that too. I don't think that's a difference. I just think it's in addition to.
I'll go along with that, I guess.
You should.
Just because.
Because it's true.
Yes, ma'am. Not to steal, I guess that's pretty obvious. Don't murder. I mean, that's pretty obvious too. Committing adultery. I don't know if I want to talk to y'all about that. The covetousness.
No, you can talk about it, girl. They know about it. They know what it is. Because y'all know what adultery is.
And that gets. Well, it gets magnified. Jesus actually magnifies that commandment a little bit, and Paul talks about it quite a bit too. But the covetousness thing is something that I don't know anybody in the Bible except for Jesus himself that doesn't struggle with covetousness. Anyway, I mean, before we get off here, is there any specific questions about anything?
Well, let's make sure they understand all the rest of them. Sorry. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet the neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Do y'all know what that means?
I don't know what covet means.
You're jealous of.
Why would you be jealous of animals?
Because
you're thinking of a time frame. You think of when this was written. Animals meant food for your family.
Or
usually rich people had a lot of animals.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it,
So
we're not talking.
They didn't have pets.
We're not talking about pets and stuff, baby. We're talking about, like, when he's talking about donkeys and asses and stuff like that, he's talking about animals that they were using for labor and for travel and for moving goods around, for plowing their gardens and stuff like that. These people didn't have tractors and stuff like that. They didn't have cars. So their animals were either food or they were there for labor. There wasn't very, very few animals that were around that were getting fed just so that you could pet them.
So it's being jealous of what others have that you don't, and not being thankful for what you have. Do you know why I'm elaborating on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very important. I have trouble with it. Almost everybody has trouble with it.
Honor thy father and thy mother, and thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. I like that one. That one makes sense to you?
There's actually a little bit deeper meaning to that too. Honoring your father and your mother and talking about the land which the Lord your God gives you is talking about inheritance and building and improving on what your mom and dad did also. So, what's next?
I think that's all I wanted to do.
Saturated them enough.
Mhm.
Well, at least I got Dad's bookmark. Do y'all want to? We got a few people in here hanging out with us still. I haven't been paying any attention to the chat or anything, but do y'all want to? Y'all want me to drop the link and see if anybody else in here wants to come and talk to y'all for just a minute? I can do that for just a minute. Annabeth is getting scarce. She don't like talking to the internet, does she?
Mhm.
No, she's not a people person.
Well, there that is. So, what I know you didn't follow along with us that much, but not like I'd like you to, but did you learn anything, you think? Not really. Not AB. I'll come give you a hug in a minute. Well, I don't think anybody wants to come say hi. You want to say bye, internet? Peace out, internet. How about you, Mom? Don't care. Okay. We'll see y'all later.